This is a lower body workout for seniors and people who feel like seniors. In this workout, we'll be strengthening your hip muscles, your hip flexors, your hip abductors, and your hip extensors. In other words, your glutes and the front of your hips. I'll give you detailed instructions on each hip exercise before we do it together in follow along format. Make sure you keep your intensity level low. Don't try to do everything as hard or as high or as deep as I show it. Make sure you are challenging your muscles, but not feeling like you're straining to get into any position. You just want to feel some new muscles work. You don't want to try to impress anybody or try to do the hardest version of any exercise. The risk of getting hurt if you're trying too hard is very high and the rewards are very low. If you hurt yourself, you could set yourself back by months or even years. So please be conservative, take your time, and remember that slow is safe and fast is foolish. If you find this workout helpful and you want a more streamlined, condensed version without all the detailed instructions, I will provide information on how to get that streamlined version at the end of this video. Also, if you have any doubts whatsoever about your body's fitness for an exercise program, please remember to check in with a medical professional so they can clear you for any potential issues. Also remember that this exercise program, like any other exercise program, is at your own risk. I take no responsibility for the consequences of your actions and you're doing these exercises correctly or incorrectly. Just make sure you take things slow and make sure you know that the responsibility for your body is always on you. With that, let's get into the workout. To strengthen your hip flexors, you're going to stand next to a wall or sturdy piece of furniture to help you balance, and you're going to lift one leg up towards the ceiling with a bent knee. You want to hold that top position and then slowly, with control, lower the leg back down. Go only where you can without any pinching, jamming, clicking, popping, painful sensations. Just pause wherever you can get and then slowly back down. Also watch for any sort of cheating that happens. For example, if you get to a point that feels difficult, you might hike your hip up to try to cheat through it. Make sure you're trying to keep your pelvis as level as possible throughout the motion. Also, make sure that your pelvis isn't wobbling either into anterior tilt or really tucking under into posterior tilt to cheat the motion. You really want this to be all about the hip flexors, the muscles in the front of the thigh. You can also explore different angles by allowing your leg to go out to the side rather than just straight in front of you. In addition, you can play with a little bit of hip rotation, so turning the leg out a little bit and then lifting will provide a different challenge that hits your sartorius muscle, which is another important hip flexor. And of course, you can also play with angling out to the side while also being in that hip external rotation. Play around with whatever feels like a good challenge for you and make sure you stay out of any painful pinching, popping ranges of motion. And finally, if you want to make this exercise more challenging, you can just put on an ankle weight and that will add some resistance to the motion. All right, let's get started strengthening your hip flexors. Stand next to a wall or sturdy piece of furniture and you're just going to be lifting one leg up towards the sky. So here we go. Make sure you hold that top position so you can feel your hip flexors working and control it on the way back down. You can explore slightly different angles. Make sure that you're not cheating. You want to feel just the muscles working in the top front of your hip. You don't want to be trying to tuck your tailbone while you're doing this or hiking your hip. Just keep it nice and controlled. You can also try slight rotation of the hip, which will help you hit that sartorius hip flexor a little bit better. Good. And let's take a rest. We're going to switch to the other side. Same thing. Make sure your hips stay level. And here we go. Nice and slow and controlled. You should feel muscles working up here. If at any point you want to make these more challenging, you can put on an ankle weight. Just make sure you don't cheat as a result. And be patient. If you find that you can't raise your leg very high, that's okay. It will get better. It just takes practice. And doing this several times a week or even potentially every day can really help improve the control you have over hip flexion. And just remember to keep exploring different options. Good. And take a rest. To build strength in your glutes and hamstrings, you're going to use a low piece of furniture like a chair or bench to support you. You'll keep your knee relatively straight. It doesn't have to be locked, but pretty straight at the knee, and lift up and then slowly back down. Up and slowly back down. You want to try to get the leg as close to parallel with the floor as possible, and then slowly back down. Control it at the top. Make sure you're not just swinging it up and then dropping it with no control on the way back down. So you're controlling the whole range of motion. Make sure you're not doing this to cheat to get the leg up, and you're not just dumping your lower back to cheat the motion. You want to watch yourself in a mirror or use a phone to make sure your spine stays relatively neutral. You keep control of your abs, make sure they're still on, otherwise your spine, your belly button drop down. If you find you can't get very high and you can only go a little bit up from the floor, that's okay. Just pause at the highest point you can get at, feel the muscles work, and then slowly back down. Over time, as you gain control of those lower positions, you'll find you unlock a little bit more range of motion. In addition, even though it's counterintuitive, you might find that putting on an ankle weight to give yourself a little bit of extra challenge will help you gain more range. So when you put that weight on, it really helps you kick on some of those hamstrings and glute muscles. You'll feel them fire a little bit better. The challenge will help them get stronger, and you will see results a little bit quicker than if you're doing it without any weight at all. Keep in mind that you can also play with different angles of the leg. So rather than just coming straight back, you can also experiment with being a little bit angled out or a lot angled out to the side. As long as you're feeling muscles in the back of the hip, down the back of your thigh, it's going to be helpful for your hip strength and mobility. Now let's build some strength in your butt and in your hamstrings. Use a low piece of furniture and get stable and supported. You're going to keep the knee relatively straight and lift. Here we go. And back down. Make sure your spine isn't cheating. Make sure your pelvis is stable. Really hold that end position. Make sure you feel their hamstrings. If you can't get up high and it's got to stay low, that's fine. If you want a little extra challenge, put on a light ankle weight, and you can build up more strength with that extra resistance. If you feel like you're cheating with your low back a lot, you can try being on your forearms or elbows and really keep your abs engaged so you don't sag your belly button towards the floor. And go ahead and take a little rest. We're going to do the other side. I'll show you from this angle. You're going to be legs straight and lifting. Remember also that you can play with angles out to the side as well. You may find some angles are a lot easier than others. Ultimately, you're just looking to give yourself options. Feel your glutes and your hamstrings working. Definitely consider using ankle weights if you have them handy and when you feel ready. Nice job. Take a rest. To build strength in your outer hip, you're going to lean against a wall or a sturdy piece of furniture so that your body is inclined toward that piece of furniture. Then you're going to lift your leg up and away from the floor. You're going to draw an arc forward and then back towards the midline. Then you'll lift up and out, back around to the starting position. So you're going out and then drawing an arc and then back in. So you want to feel muscles working on the outer hip here and focus on really controlling the full arc. So go nice and slow and controlled. If there's any point that you feel like, whew, it wants to drop or your body wants to cheat in some way, make sure you pause there, take some time and allow the right muscles on the outer hip to start firing before you continue through. If you experience any sort of clicking or popping, try to gain control near that position. So don't rush through it to try to avoid the discomfort. Try to get close to where it pops, hold that position, feel the weight of your leg, feel the work in the outer hip, and then gradually move through. So just keep drawing that arc. Draw it as best you can. If you find you have very limited range, it's okay. You don't even have to do the full arc. If you can only lift out to the side, that's totally fine. Just do your best and gradually expand the available range of motion. If you want to make this exercise harder, you can put on an ankle weight, and the extra resistance will add a lot of effort for those outer hip muscles, which will help you improve your balance and overall stability. So now let's build up strength in the outer hip. You're going to lean against a wall or a sturdy piece of furniture. The outer leg is going to be doing the arcs. We're going to lift up and around. Here we go, lifting. Bring it forward and around. And then retrace that same arc. If you feel any point where you lose control, make sure you pause there. Take your time to really feel the right muscles firing to control that angle. Make sure you're not just kind of throwing your pelvis around or bending the stance leg to try to cheat things. You really want to feel work on the outer hip. Just explore those angles anywhere there might be a pop or a crack or a clunk. Be gentle there. Explore, hold near that position so you can feel the muscles actually fatigue there and gain control. All right, good. Take a little rest. We're going to do the other side. I'm going to show you from this side this time. Again, you're just lifting out to the side, doing your arc and back in. So here we go. Lifting forward, in, and out. So it's all these muscles here on the outer hip, only a little bit back here, but mostly on the outer hip. If at any point you feel like you want more challenge or you find it difficult to feel the right muscles, you might want to throw an ankle weight on there. Slow and controlled. Anywhere you feel like you're missing some control, take your time. And let those muscles work. Really feel them wake up. All right, take a rest. To build up your butt muscles, you're going to support yourself on a low piece of furniture, either on your hands or on your forearms. You're going to have your knee bent, and you're going to be lifting up like this towards the ceiling, keeping the knee around a 90-degree bend, and slowly back down. Keeping the knee bent makes the glute muscles fire more than the hamstrings, and that's what we are focusing on. So make sure the knee stays bent. When you're lifting the leg, make sure the leg itself is moving and you're not just tilting your upper body or letting your spine arch heavily to cheat the motion. You want to keep the spine neutral and still, the pelvis still, and lift the leg up, feeling the glute muscles squeeze. You can also play with different angles. So instead of just going straight back behind you, you can also go a little bit out to the side as you raise, or you can be really out to the side as you raise. It can also be very helpful to use an ankle weight, either on your ankle or around your thigh if it fits. Having that extra weight will help you wake up the glutes, and that will have more carryover in your daily life. So don't be afraid to add a little bit of resistance. Just start light at first, and then you can gradually add heavier and heavier weight over time. And if you feel like one side is obviously weaker than the other side, make sure to do a few extra reps or even an extra set for that weaker side. All right, let's build strength in your glutes. You're gonna use a low piece of furniture and support yourself on your hands or your forearms. One knee is bent, other leg is just supporting you, and you're gonna lift. Here we go. As high as you can get it without cheating by twisting or tilting the rest of your body. You can use a mirror or a camera to watch yourself. Set up your phone at a distance so you can see what you're doing. Keep that knee bent. Hold it at the top, really trying to feel that glute squeezing. It should really be on, obviously on, and then back down. You can play around by having the leg go out at an angle. It might help wake up some other muscles back there. Different orientations can hit different fibers of your glutes. Don't be afraid to play around with ankle weights as well. Adding that resistance can be a great help to waken up your glutes. Good. Take a little bit of rest. We're going to switch sides. I'm going to do this with an ankle weight so you can see. Get supported. And here we go. Remember that your stance leg just needs to be stable. You don't have to keep it locked or anything. The knee can be a little bent. Periodically, if you want, you can just poke at your butt and make sure that it's working and firing back there. If your range of motion doesn't feel great yet, that's fine. This exercise definitely improves your hip extension ability. And the more weight you use, the more that you can control, the better your hip extension will get. Nice job. Take a rest. To build strength in your legs and in your hips, you're going to stand with your feet wider than shoulder width apart. Find what feels like a comfortable challenge for you. If you go really wide, this is going to get way too challenging. If you go too narrow, it might be very uncomfortable, so find your sweet spot. You're just going to bend your knees to a point that feels like your muscles are working in your thighs. Your feet can be pointed out at an angle, but over time, you can experiment with different angles with your feet as well. Once you're here, you're just going to be shifting from one side to the other side. Throughout this exercise, if you ever feel like you need to take a rest, please do so. If you feel like it's too painful, there's too much burning, please take a rest. As you're shifting, I want you to focus on feeling the thigh muscles work. I also want you to focus on squeezing your butt muscles, contracting them. It might help to think about those butt muscles pulling your thighs apart. When you're doing this, make sure that your feet stay in contact with the floor. I want the big toe side of your feet to maintain contact. So when you're squeezing your glutes, I don't want it to be so intense that you're lifting the big toe side off of the floor. So keep that in contact, squeeze those glutes, and just shift side to side. Remember that the goal here is to just build strength and endurance. You don't need to impress me or anybody else by getting super low. Just gradually progress when you feel comfortable and ready in your hips and in your knees. Let's get ready to strengthen your legs and hips with a little bit of a horse stance. Feet wider than shoulder width, somewhere comfortable. You're just gonna bend your knees to wherever it feels like an okay challenge. And then we're going to be slowly shifting from side to side. You want to feel your glutes squeezing and working. You want to make sure your feet stay firmly in contact with the floor. Find an angle, a position that just feels like a good, solid challenge. Squeeze those glutes. Don't let the big toe side of your feet lose contact with the floor. So even though your glutes are squeezing, you're feeling tension, you're not lifting your foot. Side to side, you can shift your butt a little bit back, a little bit forward, just exploring the ranges you control. Whenever you need a rest, take a rest, rise up a little bit. Whenever you want to challenge, you can go deeper down, but don't rush that. All right. Nice job. Take a rest. Nice job completing the circuit. If your body feels like it can handle it and you have the time, energy, and motivation, I encourage you to do 2 full rounds of this workout. How are your hips feeling after that workout? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if it did help you, you feel good, make sure to hit the like button and share this video with somebody you know who needs this too. And if you'd like a streamlined version of this workout, please check the description box and look at the link that I'm going to drop at the end of this video to the Upright Health Seniors Program. I'm even going to put it right here on screen right now. I appreciate your support. I hope you've subscribed to my channel. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.